Anti-hustle. Have you heard of this term? Apparently, it is becoming quite popular. It is used to describe certain jobs where you can work when you like, from where you like, and mostly how you like. So you can do your bit and call it a day. This is an anti-hustle work life, and it has become the war cry of younger workers, the Gen Z, those born between 1997 and 2012. That's the Gen Z. With its oldest members turning 27 years old, this generation makes up a significant chunk of the workforce. But this so-called anti-hustle mode has also earned them quite the reputation. No points for guessing. It's not a good one. Gen Z is widely considered an employer's nightmare, and survey after survey shows this. A new one is out. It says that 1 in 6 companies do not want to hire Gen Z. They say Gen Z is entitled, easily offended, unable to handle feedback, lacking in motivation, professionalism, strong work ethic, and communication skills. That's quite the list. It makes you think, what doesn't Gen Z lack? Apparently, the ability to make things worse. Over the past few years, the young haven't helped their case by making up these work trends: quiet quitting, lazy jobs, mouse jiggling, where you only pretend to work by moving your computer mouse, that's mouse jiggling apparently, or conscious unbossing, meaning consciously choosing not to be a boss or a manager. 69% Gen Z say they do not want to be middle managers because it's too high stress and low reward. I don't want to question the obvious lack of logic here. Maybe there is a secret sauce to jumping from intern to CEO. Maybe TikTok holds the answers. Who knows? But the fact remains, the young are not seen as great employees. Nearly half of the hiring managers find Gen Z the most challenging generation to work with. This is not to say that all of Gen Z is a personality hire or someone who is hired for their so-called vibes. That's a personality hire apparently. Instead of their skills, they're hired for their vibes. There are a lot of factors at play here. For starters, the current workforce is not ready for Gen Z. Let me give you some examples. Most young workers want time flexibility. A quarter of them say that their productivity peaks at night. So they want to work at night. But in this world of 9 to 5, that's not going to fly. Take, for instance, job hopping. Young workers are willing to change their careers 3 times. Careers, not jobs. 3 times in their lifetime. But for traditional employers, this is a red flag. Plus, there is generational friction. Every generation thinks that the young are worse than them. And this is only normal. Research proves this, and so do headlines. Until a decade ago, do you know what they were saying about millennials? They're bad employees, they lack work ethic, they're lazy, they're entitled. So circle of life and everything. But intellectualizing aside, my point is quite simple. Companies may not want to hire Gen Z, but they will have to sooner or later because they are the future of work. In fact, by next year, Gen Z will form a quarter of the global workforce. So unless the older generation is planning a coup, they will have to focus on solutions like better training or adaptability. Gen Z has a lot of work to do as well. Historically speaking, this is the most privileged generation. They grew up with the internet, with technology. For them, all kinds of resources are one click away. So about time that they check their privilege. The fact that they can afford to quiet quit or afford to get lazy jobs is because of the workforce that came before them. So insulation, apathy, or unrealistic self-assurance is not going to cut it in the real world. Experiences. Because it is good to be passionate about change, but Rome was not built in a day. So if you have any ambition, no matter which generation you belong to, you will have to do the time.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election. Explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.